Okay, ready whenever.
Okay, so order to read Greek relations, just an impact on the bottom argument. Then
Okay.
we consult NATO, and then actually put Israeli relations on top of that.
On top of Greece?
No, on top of
Okay, so
NATO.
Greece, Israel, consult, Perla,
Yeah.
and you're still red. Okay.
Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. First, on Greek relations. The Afghan instability triggers a Central Asia collapse, turning the case. Star in 5. In Afghanistan, the U.S. is at a crossroads. Afghanistan will sink backward and again become a field of fierce geopolitical competition. Other countries will be drawn into destructive wartregs or seek refuge in Russia or China. This will seed fresh rounds of instability. What this means is that if we withdraw from Turkey and Karzai becomes insecure, it will it'll spread insecurity throughout all of Central Asia, leading to a collapse. On to Israeli relations. We can see the fact that they do not link this disadvantage. All of the evidence was about Iraq and not Turkey. Consult NATO. First, an overview. The counterplan solves 100% of the case and avoids a NATO collapse. If we unilaterally approach the plan, it will collapse NATO and cause a nuclear war with the superpowers of the world. That's a Sullivan in '98. The net benefit when conceded, which means you grant the impacts of 100% risk. You have to pull the trigger on even a 1% chance that counterplan solves the case, which will approve. We outweigh on magnitude of probability and turn their impacts. NATO is key to preventing large wars in the status quo, and there's only a risk of the affirmative impacts if we allow it to collapse. And they say that on their permutation, they say first consult NATO and do the plan regardless. First off, this is intrinsic, which is a voter, or this is an intrinsic permutation, which is a voter, because it makes it impossible for the negative to gain ground. In addition, only prior binding consultation solves the net benefit. Goldiger and 5. Europeans have a different view on what that should look like, which is serious which is a serious give and take in which there is effort trying to reach a common ground. They are also looking for a sign that the president is interested in serious interaction, taking account of their views. The Europeans are looking for real and listening engagement. It's about going through Europe first. That needs to be part of any action plan to consult first with our European allies at NATO. And they say, and unilateral decision-making crashes relations. This is case in 01. Not only are the Russians and Chinese resent U.S. hegemony, the feeling is also shared by Europeans. They were outraged with the decision-making by U.S. away, and those decisions were thrust down their throats. What this means is that if we do their permutation, then NATO will just become even more enraged with the fact that we didn't allow them to consult first. They don't solve any of the plan. And they say that the plan is key to NATO modernization, but as we said in the overview, we outweigh this impact because the NATO collapse because we solved the NATO collapse first. Even if NATO modernization will happen, these TNWs are a part of this NATO modernization, which will lead to Turkish proliferation. In addition, not consulting NATO results in Turkish proliferation. Potter et al. In 9. U.S. TNWs are seen in the context of the suspected Iranian nuclear weapons program. Withdrawal of TNWs may push Turkey to pursue its own nuclear weapons. Withdrawal must be a matter of political decision for NATO. What this means is that the Turkish proliferation dissent acts as another net benefit to the counterplan. What this means is that if we withdraw these TNWs without consulting NATO, not only will it lead to the collapse of NATO, which will spark a giant war within Europe, but in addition, the Turkish proliferation dissent will happen, which both of those combined net benefits happen faster and are more likely to happen because of the lack of impact defense that was put on both of these net benefits in the 2AC. In addition, on to Turkish proliferation. First off, removal of TNWs causes the Turkish proliferation. This is Abram and Lincoln too. The discussion turned to American TNWs. It was concluded that there seems to be no European wish to have them removed, even if they have a symbolic political value. Turkey might decide to develop an indigenous nuclear arsenal if NATO TNWs are withdrawn from its territory. The affirmative team says that TNWs aren't needed for defense, but this doesn't matter. Even if they have as our Abraham Lincoln 2 part says, even if they have a purely strategic value, they're absolutely necessary for Turkey to feel secure. This means that if we withdraw, then the TNWs will proliferate Turkey will proliferate. And Removing TNWs causes global allies prolife by undermining the credibility of all U.S. deterrent commitments, Yost and 9. It could be damaging to U.S. credibility, disruptive of the alliance cohesion, and destabilizing to Europe's security to withdraw the remaining U.S. nuclear weapons in Europe. A withdrawal could be inconsistent with the objective of assuring allies. A loss of confidence in the reliability provided by U.S. external deterrence could lead allies to consider seeking their own nuclear forces. And U.S. TNWs should not be removed, NTI and 9. Advisory panel cautioned against removing TNWs from Europe. The presence of weapons remains a pillar of NATO unity. Allies have been troubled to learn that U.S. military leaders have advocated for removal as long as NATO members rely on U.S. nuclear weapons for deterrence, no action to be taken to remove them. In addition, they say that common practices in history prove that there will be no damage to relations. It is not about the relations. It's about how secure Turkey feels. What this means is that if Turkey doesn't feel secure, even if these TNWs don't mean anything to them besides just a purely political value, they are still highly important, and any reduction in them will lead to Turkish proliferation. And TNWs are key to threat insurance. Kulsi and 9. What could the nuclear weapons be good for? Nuclear weapons function as an insurance agent against uncertainties and the risks of the future. As the international system undergoes fundamental transformation, the great power rivalry challenges the stability of the system posed on the revisionist states. The insurance concept should be adopted as the backbone of the nuclear strategy of NATO. The presence of the nuclear weapons in the alliance arsenal would keep the opponent ever vigilant and possibility of infliction of the massive damage in a proposed attack. NATO might still need to emphasize the element of terror in keeping relations with opponents in a delicate balance. It would be premature to move towards a non-nuclear NATO. Nuclear weapons will remain a valuable tool in any future contingency in which the alliance is confronted with a hostile nuclear-armed country. This includes the worst-case scenarios of Iran, an autocratic and regressive Russia, or a possible emergence of the next nuclear players, especially in the Middle East. The nuclear potential of NATO would not be meant for fighting for a war, but to establish a framework for relations in the other nuclear-armed countries by removing both the direct possibility of strategic blackmail by the Allies and the threat of Europe emerging as the second-best target for those engaged in confrontation with the United States. So what we will see is that even if the TNWs don't mean anything to Turkey, they're highly important because it is the only way that Turkey feels safe. This leads to Turkish proliferation. In addition, if we do not consult NATO before we withdraw these TNWs, that will spark Turkish proliferation too. So the only way to solve for the net benefit to the counterplan, which is both the DISAD and NATO collapse, is to, one, consult NATO, and two, not to remove the TNWs at all, because they are highly important. So, Judge, as you can see, there is literally no reason for you to vote affirmative in today's round. My partner has already stated, because we did the one in our first, that they have literally no case coming out of this because a lot of their evidence does not draw the conclusions that are necessary. In addition, they cannot solve for the collapse of NATO. They try to make an argument saying that our non-consultation is key to modernization, but this evidence pales in comparison to the impacts of not consulting with NATO and the impacts of Turkish proliferation. In addition, Turkish proliferation would cause worldwide proliferation and nuclear war. This would be horrible. And the only way to solve for this is through the counterplan. Their permutation is abusive to us and doesn't solve because it isn't prior, genuine, binding consultation. So, in general, the only way to vote in today's round is negative. Thank you.
Okay. Cross X. For cross X?
Oh, yeah.
Do it anyway.
Okay.
Okay, your star 9 evidence says that in C, fresh rounds of instability. The Middle East has been unstable for years now. Why haven't we seen it?
Because we haven't seen the impact. We haven't seen what would happen if we if we withdraw from Interlink. Basically, what we're saying.
Doesn't say anything about withdrawing from Interlink.
That would be evidence back from the 1 and C. If you want us to bring that up, we can again.
So
but.
yeah, so instability causes complete conflict out. Like we've already seen this with instability.
At least at this point, Karzai has the ability to keep minor control of his government. If we remove Interlink, Karzai loses literally all control of his government, making it impossible for him to do anything. This will bring an entirely new kind of.
On the counterplan, you say consult NATO. When have we consulted NATO on other issues?
We're putting the TNWs in there in the first place.
What evidence?
You didn't ask for this in the 2AC. Probably would have been good to bring it up then. If you want me to bring it up in my 2NR, I will.
Please do, because...
Okay.
Okay, no, that's not even my question. I just want to know, when have we consulted before?
Like I said, when we put the TNWs in Turkey.
On the last card of your entire case, Is that talking about we need to deter other countries or deter Turkish?
You mean the TNWs
Yeah.
are a key threat to insecurity? What this card is talking about is how
It's talking
TNW.
about Turkey or other countries. To deter Turkey or deter other countries, like Russia.
It's talking about how Turkey likes the TNWs because they feel as if it deters other countries. Talks even more about how they feel like it deters an aggressive Russia and Iran.
Okay.
So our counterplan is really chill. It actually, because I know that's what you're gonna ask about next, right? It actually solves for all of the impacts that you're going to happen, and the impacts of the counterplan
Okay.
when
On the
combined with your
case,
installations.
on the case, on evidence, it says that China and Russia relations are going to go down. Does it say anything about what? So
Are you talking
does
about
that
the case in
collapse
one
NATO?
evidence?
Yes.
It's talking about that not only are the Russians and Chinese pissed about U.S. hegemony.
Okay, what's the impact to U.S. Russia being pissed about?
That's not the point of the card. The point of the card is talking about how Europe. What?
Yeah.
The feeling is also shared by Europeans. Europe doesn't like the fact that the United States feels like they can do whatever they want. Consulting NATO on this is a key step. And if you look at our Potter et al. Evidence, it talks specifically about how consulting
Okay,
NATO.
what decisions is it talking about? It's talking about policies of international financial institutions. How does this have to do with?
They were outraged by unilateral decision making by the United States and the way those decisions were thrust down their throats. It's
Yes,
talking about how
financial institutions. Why
it's
is
still
this
a decision that was made without any of their consent.
Okay, so does every decision that the United States does, if we pass healthcare, does that affect?
No, it's not.
NATO?
They're talking about international
Okay, so every
decisions that are
time
shoved down their throats.
we went to war, we consulted NATO.
No, that's why they're pissed off.
Yeah.
Can I go to the bathroom?